our leaders, for the most part, are by their choice. These kinds of leaders are Uncle Toms who are licking the boots of our former slave masters for his pleasure and wealth, regardless of what happens to you and me, for they really don't care. It makes no difference if you have a black face up there, because despite our big titles and positions, we don't have representation, because justice has not rolled down the mountain like a mighty stream. Not for us. God wants to make something new and better, and in order to advance his world, his idea, he has to choose the right material, and the right material has never been those who profit from the ills of the masses. The right material has always been those who suffer and come out of that suffering to a new idea that they are willing to suffer for to see its establishment. So my question then is, should we desire to come out of this and create something new and better under the guidance of God? Should we separate from this? Wait, just think. Pharaoh has actually let us go. You used to be able to work in a factory. Was not a lot of money, but it was enough for us to survive. But today, the factories have closed and tens of thousands, even millions of us are out of work. What does this tell us? Pharaoh has nothing more for us to do except fight in his unjust wars or serve in his prison industrial complex. And so our children are being put out of school in the kindergarten. And they're headed from children into that track that makes them candidates for the prison industrial system. Well, of course, if you are highly learned, he can use you for his purposes, but not necessarily for the freedom, justice, equality, and advancement of your people. So the cause orientation that we saw in the 60s is no longer present. The cause today among most or many is rugged individualism. It's what I can get for me and my family, and to heck with you and your family. There's not a social consciousness that makes us feel the pain of one another. But something happened recently with the Jena 6. These young college students that were not around in the 60s came out of their places and went to Jena, Louisiana, to let the world know we don't like what's going on. Now, I want to try and tie this up. Moses and Aaron said, "Rise up and get you forth." Pharaoh said to Moses and Aaron, "Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said." See, but he only did this after the last plague, which was the plague of death. Death came into his house and killed his firstborn, and then after that he said, "Take your people and just get out of here." Then Moses gave the children of Israel God's command, and they did according to the word of Moses. But then Pharaoh had a change of heart, because the slaves that God wanted to use, that he produced and purified through the furnace of affliction, Pharaoh then felt threatened that they would one day supplant him. Come on, minister, come on. So he decided to kill them all. And he sent his army after Moses and the children of Israel. Now, what is the army that Pharaoh sent out to kill the children of Israel? And what is this army that the modern Pharaoh has sent out to kill the children of the former slaves? Since we are the fulfillment of the prophetic picture of the children of Israel, listen. What is Pharaoh's army? Is the Food and Drug Administration part of that army? Is the Center for Disease Control a part of the army? Are the pharmaceutical companies a part of the army? Is the American Medical Association a part of the army? Is the court system and the prison system part of that army? Is the closing of hospitals in the black community, is that a part of the plan? Is closing Grady Memorial, is that a part of the plan? Is the placement of black people near hazardous waste sites, is this part of the armed forces that have been let loose to kill the modern Moses and Aaron and to kill the modern children of Israel? Look at the death rates among black people. Look at the diseases that afflict us. Look at the government policies that promote this destruction of the black community. Is this an accident or is this on purpose?
Preach, minister, preach.
The army's behind us, but the Red Sea is in front of us.
In front of us.
And the Red Sea represents war, revolution, and bloodshed that is going on, and the only way we can get through to that promised land which God has promised is that there must be a parting of the Red Sea, that the righteous may go through safely. And this is where we are today. And this is why both the Bible and Quran suggest a plan of salvation for the righteous. Are you ready to come out? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, quote, "Integration is a hypocritical trick to make you think that your 400-year-old enemy has all of a sudden become your friend. He's given us many promises. All of them have proved false. So are we ready now to accept the promise of God?" Some of us are in a wilderness condition, murmuring against God because we came out from under Pharaoh but have not gotten where God wants us to go. So we're in the wilderness wondering whether we should go back and serve Pharaoh because it's too hard to think about building an independent nation. It's too hard to think about being free from our former slave masters and their children. We think it is too hard to build up an economy that will take care of the needs of our people. It's too hard. Let's go back and serve Pharaoh. So those who came out in the 60s, we used to say, "What time is it?" And we would cry back, "It's nation time." But we don't hear you anymore. You're in the wilderness now. murmuring against those who would desire to separate and build an independent existence. You're murmuring now against the voices that call for reparations. You're murmuring now because you've gone back to Pharaoh and you're comfortable with Pharaoh, but the masses of your people are not. We want out of this. How long will we continue to suffer in every generation fighting the same people that our fathers fought, that our grandfathers fought, that our great-grandfathers fought, and now you're still willing to pass on to your children your cowardice because you still want a place with your former slave masters and their children? How long can we commit another generation to the slaughter of our open enemies? How long? Don't look at me like I've did something wrong. It's time for you scared to death Negroes to bite the dust. Our people must be free. In the book of Isaiah, it asks the question, shall the prey be taken from the mighty and the lawful captive delivered? This is the big question. God intends to take us from our former slave masters and their children, even if we don't want to go, because he's closing down every avenue by which any sustenance can come to your slave master. You should read what's going on with the dollar. You should read how China has over $1 trillion that she's losing money on, so she's transferring her dollars into euros. Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, if they start dumping the dollar, what are you gonna do when your dollar can't buy nothing anymore? You that worship the dollar as a god beside God. I'm about to land this plane. When America's founding fathers decided they had had enough of the tyranny of the King of England, they stood up and declared their independence and armed themselves in open rebellion. In 1776, they said, quote, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth that separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. So the founding fathers of what is called the United States of America demanded separation. They demanded separation from their tyrannical masters. They and their leaders had irreconcilable perceptions of justice that made coexistence with their former colonial master impossible.